Hello, everybody. Tonight I am working on a new city builder illustration. This one is going to be the cover to chapter 7. I've done a few of these I've worked on a few of these on this stream. So it's a pretty big project. We're still trucking away at it. So this is the next one that I'm working on. I have my sketch in my little sketchbook off to the side. Hopefully when I'm done with this, it will look like this, only better and more finished. So that's going to be off to the side out of frame so that I can refer to it while I'm drawing and have kind of a guideline. I have already laid down my perspective grid so that you don't have to watch me fumble around with a ruler while I do that. I do occasionally do the perspective grids on here on the stream, but it's not the most riveting thing. So, and especially this is like a 1-point perspective grid. It's about as simple as it can get. All right, so Chapter 7, City Building, we're doing basically a bunch of different, just different generic places, or different categories of places that you would find in a city for a fantasy setting. Fantasy or type setting. It's geared toward, but it's really great for just writing fiction as well. And each chapter is a different type of place. So, for example, chapter 7 is service places. So this is going to be a tavern. We've been trying to make each of these fairly iconic, but also unique. So you can tell that, yes, it's a tavern, but it doesn't look like every other fantasy tavern you've ever seen, is the idea. So we'll see what we can do. Right now I'm just kind of knocking in the basic layout of the room, following my perspective grid. So this is kind of going to be it's a tavern, but we're going to have basically an upper gallery where the characters are going to be, and then a lower barroom floor. Bar will be down here. Characters are here. I think this needs to be a little higher. I think I put it a little too low on the page. I don't want my characters to barely be visible on the page, so we're going to scoot that up a little bit. Just a wee bit. Just to give my characters a little bit more front and center presentation. Okay. Seated around a big round table, which is an ellipse, which if you're trying to draw an ellipse in perspective, then especially when it's a big fat one like this that's easy to lose the grid on, you can draw yourself a box in the perspective grid. And you can, because I can already see that ellipse was hella wonky. So you draw yourself a box. That's kind of a wonky box. All right. And then I will use my straight edge for this, just so that I don't completely miss the mark on this. Back up here. Sorry for any weird noises as my paper hits my microphone. All right, so you find the center by connecting the corners. You put your center line in perspective. That center line happens to be the bottom of the rail, so that worked out. And so now you can make your ellipse by connecting those corners. Dope. I hit my camera. And obviously I still need to kind of not that is a much less wonky ellipse than the one I tried to freehand. So that's why we do that. Oh, there's not much eraser left on this pencil. That's okay. I will get my eraser pencil. Basically, the erasers that come on the pencils are just like bonus erasers for me. I don't really count on having them. I chew through them pretty quickly. Or I completely forget they're there, and then I have like this tiny little nub of pencil with a full eraser attached to it, and I'm like, oh, I'm a dork. That was silly. I should have used that. All right, that's better. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's better. I can now get rid of that box that I was using for a guideline. Don't need all that anymore. A bunch of extra lines that are going to distract and confuse me later. So much better ellipse. And remember, a table exists in 3 dimensions, so we need to have the lower edge of the table. Don't get back here, you. Okay, so there's my gallery and my table. Now I need to put some adventurers around it. So I know I'm going to have top that railing. One of my adventurers. I might have to noodle around a little bit until I get the proportions just so on this, but one of my adventures is basically leaning back on the railing. Enjoying their drink, kind of lounging. Your chair is also going to be right up against it there. I feel like that looks very stiff and awkward. So I think I need to adjust that slightly. Let's try that again. Let's start with the shoulder and the arm, which then will go into get that gesture, go into the rib cage. Well, usually my first inclination is always to start with the head on a figure. Sometimes the pose will dictate that you do not. Most drawing methods, they actually recommend you start with the torso, like you start with the chest and where it's facing. I always found that to be really difficult and ended up with either way too big or way too small or kind of detached heads. So but I think that knitted a much more natural looking result. I might still adjust the head a little bit, but that's a more natural looking lounging pose. I think part of the problem is that elbow does not belong on that table. That doesn't actually work. It can be kind of lounged back, but then your other shoulder. The arm's not actually going to be that far. Their elbow's not going to be that far forward. So even if they have a drink, their elbow's not that far forward. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Okay. All that struggle, and I finally have one figure knocked in. Everything that gets challenging when doing figures in a fantasy piece is when you have demi-humans of wildly different proportions from your actual humans, is that sometimes they look really weird side by side. And if you have to put them in any amount of perspective, things get really dodgy. It's like, why does this character look so much smaller? Well, they are smaller, but then they're also further back, and it gets weird. The level of fudging to make things not look completely wrong goes up by a lot. A rather significant factor. All right. Because this is the dwarf, who needs to have a much shorter, stockier frame than the human. He's sitting on a chair that's right here. Very basic chair-shaped chair that I will put more detail into later. It just needs to exist right now. All right. Beatrice is going to be standing here. She's also human, or at least human proportioned. She might end up being like an elf or something, but her proportions at least are more human. And she's got her serving tray, which that ellipse should be pretty similar in character to this ellipse if she's holding it perpendicular to the table, which, balance would indicate she probably would be. All right, so here's the basic space the waitress is taking up. Now we also need our little tiny gnome who can barely see over the top of the table because I find that amusing for some reason. The gnome probably sitting on a book and can barely see over the table. I just find that idea funny. Because apparently I'm a bad person. No, head is too high. Your head needs to come down. I think again, I'm going to have to start with the torso because I want this. I want our elf to be kind of... No, she still needs to move because now she's overlapping my gnome too much. Dang. Blocking these figures in is sometimes like the hardest part. Doing all the details and finishing everything out is not as difficult as just getting everything to fill up the space it's supposed to. And not anybody else's space, just its own space. That's better. She's kind of doing the lean across the table thing. That elbow needs to come up some so that she's not going sideways. Arrgh. Frustration. Okay. We'll get there. She's kind of like in the table where she was right then. Let's scoot those hips back just a little bit. Cat, will you stop destroying my couch? I'm not sure why my cat has a vendetta against my couch. If any of you have ever tried any of that Cat Please Don't Scratch This spray and actually found that it worked, please let me know. Let me know what brand actually worked. I would dearly love for my cat to stop destroying my furniture. I've been trying to acclimate him to let me touch his little toe beans so that I can clip his nails, but we haven't made the best progress on that so far. hasn't gone great. Like, he's tolerant up to a point. Pretty much as soon as I make any moves to do anything, he's like, nope. Gonna escape and or tear your face off. All right, so I've got my party arrayed around their table, and their waitress is there bringing them more food and drink. I need to now deal with all the rest of this giant open space and this composition. All right, one thing that's going right here and is going to take up a big amount of the space in the middle is that we're going to have a big chandelier. This ellipse is smaller, of a similar character to the table, so I don't really feel the need to make a box because I feel like this is small enough I can control it and kind of keep it not too wonky without having to do with the box thing. One thing I've also done before when I have to do like a really big ellipse, like if it's like an architectural element or something and it's going to take up a huge amount of space, is that sometimes I'll actually draw like a thumbnail with a really teeny tiny thumbnail with ellipse template, like super tiny, and then I'll scan it in, and then I'll scan it into the computer and I'll blow it up to the size I actually need it for the final image, and then print it off and lightbox it so that I know that it is actually like the angle and character of ellipse that I actually need for the perspective that I'm going to be using. Most of the time I don't feel the need to do that. Every once in a while I get a particularly challenging scenario, and that's what I ended up. That's one of my solutions for that. Like, don't believe anyone who tells you that artists have to just magically do everything freehand and never use tools or technology to make their lives easier. You absolutely do that. Like, being smart about using tools and technology to your advantage makes you a better artist, not a worse artist. Better artist if you're getting good results. If it ultimately looks like the thing you want it to look like. All right. Our fancy chandelier. Which I'll add more details to later, but for right now, it's a chandelier. It exists. I haven't decided quite how I want to ornament it yet. I was talking with Mike, one of the co-owner of Skirmisher Publishing, who is functionally my boss for this project, and a lot of projects, honestly. And one of the goals for this piece is that we want it to be recognizably a tavern, like a fantasy tavern, but not have it be super generic. So one of the ways that we want to do that is through architectural elements and design elements. And still kind of figuring out how I want to do that. But I can get a lot of this knocked in before I get too bogged down in the details of how I want to do that. All right, this is the barroom floor. We're going to have a bar right here. I'm trying not to lose the perspective grid, and my hand really wants to just tell my perspective grid to take a hike. And a bar. Top of the bar. So this is up pretty high. This is almost like a story and a half up. So we're gonna have a fairly small figure down here. As our barkeep. No, what are you doing? Barkeeps don't reach past the bar. That's silly. I have so I don't need to be stooped quite that much. I just kind of need to populate this area, make it look like there are other people in this tavern. And try to keep them in perspective because we're looking down at these people. I'll scoot this over so it's in frame a little better. I hear a child stirring in the other room. Oh no. What? Okay. Child is stalking off the bathroom. All right. Patron there at the bar. I feel like this guy's... I don't like how far over he is. I don't like it. I don't like it. I feel like those figures are still too big and they're like awkwardly taking up way too much room here. Let's struggle and flounder some more until we come up with a better solution here. Well, let's see. Oh my gosh, now a cat's losing his mind. Go back to bed. Night. Maybe I'll have the bar go further. Give me some more room to work with. Yeah, we'll have the bar go all the way back here. Maybe that'll help. All right, there's a figure there. That I feel better about that. There's a figure there near the column. I'm going to make the barkeep roughly there, but we won't see their face, which is kind of too bad, but have someone else doing the lean in order. All right, do want a few other figures just kind of hanging out in this space. Holding their drinks and talking like you do. Oh yeah, you might still need legs there, person. That might be good for you to have. There we go. And actually, I really like the way the perspective came out on that figure. He's looking pretty good. All right. Let's see. We're going to have another table of different patrons down here. Again, perpendicular to, or parallel to the table that's up here. So should be a pretty similar character. Maybe these folks down here are playing cards or something. supposed to be a classy establishment. There's some more people down here. Just trying to make this bar look like people actually hang out at it. That'd be nice, right? Make it not look completely abandoned. All right, so following this perspective grid back here. This comes down here. We're going to put the back wall somewhere back here, or rather the back row of like, have some booths back here. What makes sense? I got to stop and think about the layout of this place. So the bar ends back here. Bar ends here. Yeah, we can have a little bit of room and a booth back here. There's a couple of booths. Table in between them. Not that you're going to see a lot of that because it's going to get blocked by the chandelier, but we need to know that there's stuff back here. Maybe have another figure kind of wedged in here. Another figure back here in this booth. I'll have another. Oh, she's gonna be a lot. This wait staff is gonna be a lot smaller if they're way back here. Someone else heading off with a drink. Generally just trying to fill this space up and make it look like there are people here. So what time is it? It is 9:34. We're not quite finished filling all this in yet. You know what? Everybody's been kind of human proportioned. I'm gonna make you short. Because some of these need to be other fantasy races. There we go. That's better. The halfling or something. Yeah, it's a halfling or something. I don't know. All right. Oh, yeah. I wanted to put some other columns in here. just to break up the space and add some interest. So there's another column. There's another column. That helps make the space more interesting. Maybe have there be a little bit of like an arch going on. Except then we have to make sure it's symmetrical. Or else our building will look wonky. I may or may not commit to that. I may not like that ultimately. See how I feel about it. All right. Also on this upper gallery, we need to have more people up on the upper gallery where our adventurers are. So let's see. I also feel like I want to add like more little lamps of some type. Whoops, I'm going out of frame. Little lamps of some type coming off of these. Not really sure what the character of those are going to be yet. So just placeholder lamp blobs for the moment. All right. So also in the upper gallery, we can have more tables. Well, I think actually I want to have the rest of the upper gallery be booths. We're going to have you just see the edge of these booth seats over here. So, oh, that stupid arch. I regret this already now. It's just confusing me. Booth. Just kind of knocking in the basic shape. There's the back. There's a seat. There's a table, seat, other seat. Oh gosh, yeah, this is a mess. This is a mess. Okay, that's gonna have to get. That's a mess over there. I'm gonna have to erase and just redo all of that. We'll put a note. Booths? Question mark. What did I even do? We're gonna erase this preemptively on this side because I know it's just gonna make me upset that it's there. Let's start in the front here. That seems more logical. I think I started in the back just to make sure I had enough room, but all it really served to do was confuse me. See, look, it worked out. I had enough room anyway. It's fine. All right. Table has to kind of go in between there. Table. Other figures. Chatting, enjoying their things. There will be more figures over here or something. I don't know. All right. And say there's another big round table at the other end. But most of this is going to be all kind of shadowy, so I'm not going to put a bunch of figures in there because I don't want to have too much. I don't want to draw too much attention up here. This is probably where the title is going to go, so I don't want this to get too crazy and cluttered. If you know your image is going to get used for something like that and you have a general idea of where that's going to go, you need to kind of plan around that. All right, so it is 9:40. I have gone from just a perspective grid to now I have the basics of this tavern scene mapped out. I know what the lay of the land is going to be. I know how the room is structured, where all the figures are going to be, more or less. They might get some minor adjustments, but they're there now. And basic gestures for a lot of them. So now I've got all the basics figured out. I can start narrowing down some specifics. I'm going to start, oh geez, I'm going to knock my microphone over is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start down here. Start getting some of this stuff. Start getting my party hammered in because I know what my party looks like. I've drawn them a lot at this point. Starting with my dwarf fighter. Get some of his features nailed down. He's got a little more forehead than that. He's got a good amount of forehead. To clean out some of this underdrawing. He's got his mohawk that goes back into a braid. His lumpy dwarf skull. Tattoos on the side of his head. And of course the beard. Of course. But he's kind of looking over his shoulder, so I need to get his shoulder put in first. His signature dwarfy burliness. Oh shoot, I forget which arm he's supposed to have his arm ring on. I've literally completely forgotten to draw it in at least one of the illustrations. His arm ring is completely missing because I completely forgot to draw it. And I realized it while I was coloring it, I think, and I was like, welp. Too late now. No one else caught it before now, so oh well. I think it's on the other arm. It might be on this arm. I'm gonna have to check that. I'll make a note to myself. If I'm in the middle of drawing and I don't want to stop what I'm doing to look up reference, I'll just write myself a little note sometimes. Arm ring. So that hopefully I'll see it later when I'm not in the groove and be like, oh yeah, I'll go look that up now. All right, he's looking over his shoulder. So it's got like the mustache braids. Some of it comes out this way. He's going to be hanging on to his mug already. There's that. Oops. All right. His shirt. Other hand is over here. Oh, I'm gonna do the rest of his beard here. Beard. Gesturing as he's telling a story or something. All right. What time is it? 9:50. Oh my goodness, we only have 10 minutes left. And I haven't done any of the obnoxious things, self-promotion things. All right, so while I work on making this chair, I guess I'll do the obnoxious self-promotion things. Let's split this up. You might not even hear me do the self-promotion things all that well because the paper's half covering my microphone. Anyway, so obnoxious self-promotion things. This is for, I mentioned at the beginning, I'll mention again real quick. This illustration is for a project called City Builder. We had a Kickstarter a little while ago, and it's done now, and it's being released. You can find it on Drive-Thru RPG from Skirmisher Publishing. It's called City Builder. It's a really awesome resource for designing different communities and lists all sorts of different places that you would find in cities or villages, anywhere where there's a lot of people. Each chapter gives you lots of good ideas of places that could exist in your cities and other communities, and story hooks and that sort of thing that you would find there, ways to incorporate them into your adventures and stories. It's pretty darn cool. This one is for chapter 7, which is going to be service places, so it's a tavern. City Builder, you can find, it's actually an old publication that Skirmisher did many, many years ago, and we re-released it we're re-releasing it in a platinum edition, which is what the Kickstarter was for. And part of that is updated text, new places, and all new artwork, including all of my fun chapter head images that I'm making special for this new edition of City Builder. The original City Builder edition that was released several years ago now had all like classical art paintings, like all this different classical fine art, the different chapter head images, which was very lovely, but didn't make it look, terribly. It wasn't terribly unique. It wasn't really its own. It was a bunch of stuff that already existed for other reasons. So this will be fun because all of these chapter head images, of which I have done many, I only have a couple left to do at this point. I'm getting so close on this project. I've been working on it for many months now. But they all feature, like, they're custom made for this project, and they all feature the same adventuring party. Sometimes it's only a couple of the characters, like a couple of the party members in an individual scene, but it's all the different party members interacting with and going through the different settings, which is actually a really fun way to do it. I don't remember which of us came up with that concept. I think it was probably Mike. I thought it was a really cool way to do it, though. I think it's a really fun addition to it. So anyway, that's what this is for. If you're enjoying watching me draw and want to join me, I usually do these Saturday nights. Time and day subject to change as depending on life. Just depending on life. As of right now, I'm trying to do them every Saturday. I missed last week because I was at PAX Unplugged. I'm home now, so I'm doing this again. I should make next week. I'm not sure about the week after that because the holidays are crazy. And I have lots of family obligations and things to do, so may or may not make the 28th of December, but I should be here on the 21st of December, which is next week, which is the winter solstice. So we can all celebrate the solstice and hang out together while I do artwork. That would make me very happy. So if you enjoy watching this, I do these fairly regularly. You can subscribe to my channel. You can like the video if you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification icon thing. I don't know why they got to make this so complicated, but if you do the thing, if you hit the thing, then it will notify you when I go live, so that even if I do change the time or you don't remember when the time is or whatever else, you'll get a notification. So you won't miss it, is the idea. He's got a little plaid kilt, a little tartan kilt on. I couldn't help myself. I know that Scottish dwarves are like really dreadfully stereotypical, but I really cannot help myself. I just love it so much. I mean, look, he's just so cute in his little tartan kilt. Anyway, yeah, so you can follow me here on YouTube. Oh, I have a message from Mike. From Mike, I like drawing to your videos. Oh, thanks. Thanks for coming and keeping me company. You can find me on other social medias too. You can find me on Twitter at Age of Night. You can find me on Instagram at Amanda Call Art. You can follow my Facebook page for my webcomic, which is Age of Night. Just search for that. And you can read my webcomic at ageofnight.com. It doesn't look exactly like this, but it's a similar style because it's me drawing it. So Age of Night updates every Wednesday. A lot of times I work on Age of Night pages on the stream. This needed to get some work done on it, so this is what I ended up doing tonight. But a lot of times I work on Age of Night pages. If you go back through the archive, you'll see quite a few of them being worked on. And oh yeah, also I have a Patreon. That's the one I'm forgetting. I have a Patreon, so you can get your Age of Night pages a week early. All patrons get that. Patrons that are $2 and above get to see pencils of pages before they're completed. So it's kind of a neat peek at the process. If you like these videos, it's another neat way to see kind of behind the scenes what the process is like. I'll also upload other special content on there that doesn't get posted other places or gets posted there first before other people get to see it. So that's a fun way to keep up to date. And it's awesome because you help support me, and I love it. Oh yeah, and I'm selling copies of Age of Night. If you or someone you know wants it for Christmas, there's still a little bit more time where you could actually get it in time for Christmas. I just mailed out a package yesterday. That was Friday. It was projected to be delivered by Monday, which I was actually pretty surprised about. But that was just going within New England, so there's still time if you want to get a copy of Age of Night. If you get it directly from me, signed, you can just message me on my Facebook page, and I'll send it to you. You can also buy them on Amazon, if you must. This is my the human cleric. She's supposed to be kind of very pleasantly tipsy right now. She's kind of got that like sleepy, happy expression going on. Like, yeah, this is great. And also I might pass out at any moment. That's pretty great. Okay. It is 9:59. So that has been about an hour. I went from this piece of paper only having a perspective grid on it to now I have my whole tavern scene laid out. Everything is blocked in. I've got one figure pretty much completed. Pretty good start on the face of another one. So there's still quite a bit of work to do. It's a fairly complex image, but I'm off to a great start. And hopefully I will see you all next week. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.